Wow, look who's here today. Doug Porter, Woodstock Building Associates, locally owned, a great builder and an awesome guy and a great locally owned business. Doug, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gary, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Let's start with the basics here for Woodstock Building Associates, in business for how many years?
38 years, Gary.
Located where?
78 Prospect Street in Woodstock, Connecticut.
And what's the telephone number there?
860-928-0897.
Website, social media, what do you got?
We got it all. WBAHomes.com. We're on Pinterest, we're on House, and we're on Guild Quality.
You're big on the whole team concept. Tell me about it.
Well, we think it's important to have professionals from the start to the finish of a job. So that's where we start. And today I have joining us Steve Kean, who is our architect, and he starts the project and gets the plans started off.
Steve, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gary. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How to become an architect? What's the process? What do you do?
Oh, it's a long road. You have to have the desire to do it, first of all, but you have to start with Legos in the sandbox when you're a kid.
That's right. Okay, good.
And then many years of school after that.
I had Tinker toys and erector sets, but, I'm old.
How about Lincoln Logs? Did you have
Lincoln Logs? Yes, we had Lincoln Logs, too. I forgot about Lincoln Logs. But, yeah, you got to get crazy with the Legos, and then that's a good sign that maybe there's something happening. Then what?
And then you have to go to 4 years of bachelor school and then get your master's after that and take 7 exams to end it all off.
And you're, in terms of your forte, you're more than just a designer, too. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I do all the design work. I meet with the clients. We do the estimating there, and we walk through the house in the course of the project and follow up on construction details.
And an efficient use of space, that's your specialty, right?
It is. It takes years of practice, and I've been with WBA for 5 years now, so I know what clients are looking for.
Awesome. Now, the last time you were here in October, what were you talking about?
Successful building projects and how to have tips to how to have a successful project.
There was a big checklist.
There was a checklist.
It was a ponderous checklist, but it's a big project, and you want to do it right.
Sometimes we think checklists are real important, so you go through the right steps.
Airline pilots. That checklist, you don't do anything without
a checklist.
Without running down that checklist. In the morning before I go down, I adopt the discipline of pilots in the morning. I do a whole checklist here, and I'm not flying anything, and I do a whole checklist before I go on the air every single day. That's good. That's good stuff. All right. So anyway, what's your topic this month?
Well, we'd like to talk about the new plan requirements required by the Connecticut Building Code, and also talk about some design trends in 2006, and do we expect those to continue into next year?
So codes, really? That's what we're going to talk about today? This is going to be fun.
It's really exciting.
Fun topic, right?
Yes.
The Connecticut Building Code is about 900 pages of light reading.
Oh, good times.
Something really interesting. But in October, they just accepted the International Residential Code for 2012. It's called the 2012 IRC. So that's the new book that we all use to build for in the state of Connecticut.
What are some of the requirements here? What are we talking?
Well, the big changes were on plans, and that's one reason we asked Steve to join us today, is that the building code is requiring more details on blueprints. Mm-hmm. No more can a house be designed on the back of an envelope or the back of a napkin.
Yeah, all right.
It takes, all the details need to be laid out on a set of plans.
So continue with that. For example,
well, it used to be electrical plans need now to be shown on the blueprints for the house. The plumbing plans, you have to show how the water is going to drain from the sinks down into the septic system or into the sewer if you're on it in the city. You also need a heating plan. Smoke detector layouts. How are all the smokes going to be wired together? You need carbon monoxide detectors. You need smoke detectors. You need heat detectors in the garage. They all have to be wired together. That has to be shown on a plan now.
So these requirements, Steve, sounds like a piece of cake for you. You're probably just about doing that anyway, right?
No, we are close to it, but it does add some more time and cost to the project.
Yeah.
Other things are we have to add lateral loads, which is a concern with wind design and things like that. So we have to bring usually a structural engineer on board.
Yeah.
But it is all for the safety of the homeowner or the resident of the house.
Absolutely. And you take things for granted. Like sometimes you'll see like in another country, sometimes a third world nation, there'll be an earthquake and everything's just crumbling, man. Everything's just crumbling. Similar earthquake happens here and stuff is we get a little messed up, but overall we're still standing. That's building codes. That's codes.
Right. You do have to plan for the bad scenarios that happen.
That's codes.
A lot of the lateral loads all came out of Hurricane Andrew. Now, how many years ago was Hurricane Andrew?
It was 90-something, 3 or something?
That's how long it took it
91?
to get through the building code process to
Wow.
now that all the homes that were really addressing wind loads that came out or apparent problems with Hurricane Andrew, where roofs blew off, walls blew down, garage doors failed, and the whole house failed. So now those issues we're addressing in our blueprints.
Wow. Pretty good stuff. All right. So you filed some plans recently, yesterday. Tell
Well,
me
just
about
to
it.
give an idea,
Yeah.
yesterday we filed some plans in the town of Webster for a remodeling project we're doing.
Okay.
There were 10 pages on the blueprints.
Wow.
Chase Graphics is going to have a good business this coming year. We use local people to help us, and Chase prints our blueprints for us. And so it was 142 pages I needed printed yesterday so that I could have
Yeah.
the plans for the building permit and then also the plans that we need for our people to build the project.
And I'm glad you mentioned Chase. That's a real specialty printing job, isn't it? That's huge, right? It's huge sheets of paper. These.
We don't have the ammonia printer in the back. It used to go into an architect's office, a builder's
Yeah.
office, and you'd smell the ammonia
Yeah.
from the blueprint process. That's all gone. It's all done with copying machines now. But it's really nice because electronically we can transfer those plans to Chase and come down later in the afternoon, and they have them printed out for us.
So you mentioned here on the bullets, good and bad. What's the good and bad here?
Well, the good is it takes more time and it costs more money to prepare your plans.
It keeps me employed, though, right?
I kid, Steve. I think he gets paid by the page that he generates.
Yeah, that's right.
He
140 pages. All right. Yeah, we couldn't do this at 100. Seriously? Okay.
And then one good thing is that we solve problems before the construction begins.
Right.
Because you're laying it out on the plans. You can see whether all the components go together, and hopefully it's easier to do that ahead of time before you start with the
Yeah.
wood. It makes a smoother construction process because you've thought about how all the components go together. You've thought about how the plumbing is going to drain down before you started framing, so you know if there's floor joist in the way, if the walls line up, so that the plumbing actually does go downhill. That's the key with plumbing. It has to go downhill.
That's always the goal. Okay, good to know.
And then finally, it's also probably makes it easier for the building officials. Before they get to the project, they have a set of plans that they can review. They know what they're going to see at the project. If it's a more elaborate design that has vaulted ceilings, tall walls, they can be ready to go and say, okay, do I see the right attachments? Do I see the right structural connectors before they get to the job? And I think it makes that whole process smoother.
And let's talk about design trends. Does that change annually? Does it kind of continue for a few years? What's going on?
I think
right
it
now?
continues for a few years, and part of that process is what did we see in 2016, and do we expect it to continue into 2017?
Right. It does evolve over the years. And what we've noticed in this past year, we were lucky enough to do 55 building projects. And from our house website, we did notice a few trends. And one of the big things was open living plans and kind of the balance between openness and privacy. Everybody's looking for that open floor plan with a living room, dining room, and kitchen space. But you do have a concern with the TV sound and also kitchen smells going from room to room. So I do think even though people want the open floor plan, they're still looking for that private space, whether it be a playroom, an office space, or maybe a den off into one corner of the house.
Yeah, I'm wacky on kitchen smells. I'm really like, we have, some people, you put a hood over the stove. I have like a professional grade blower fan unit or whatever with a very well vented. I can't stand cooking smells getting through the whole house.
And it creates noise as soon as you turn that fan on. So it's nice
Yeah.
to have some separate spaces in the house sometimes.
Exactly. Sometimes you get some little fan, and they're just blowing it through some filter and chucking it back into the room. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with that.
Well, the key also is privacy. We have these open areas. The whole concept is that when people come to visit your house, you all can gather together. Most of the time, gather in the kitchen, and you can flow into the open space that leaves the living room. And maybe you're watching the big football game and everybody's concentrating. But what happens if someone else wants to have a private conversation or read a book, and you have these open plans? Where do they go? So that's part of that. Steve's working on. We're always trying to come up with an additional space where you can have some privacy. You can have a quiet conversation when someone's watching the big football game, or is our house watching the Yukon girls win.
Absolutely. Okay. What other design trends, Steve? What else is going on?
The other big question is what to do in the bathrooms, whether or not to install a tub or a shower. And we find that the younger generations are basically installing both. They're looking more for that wow effect as they walk in that bathroom with either a clawfoot tub or maybe a platform tub, but also that tile shower with a frameless glass surround, again, for for that wow effect. And it seems like the older generation, they're
That's
looking.
me.
That is Doug, yes. But we have to plan for them. They're looking more for adaptability. Walk in that bathroom space, have enough turning radius if that day ever comes where they need a wheelchair or something like that, and also easy access into that shower. So we're usually putting in fiberglass units, so there's a low curb for the easy access in and out, a seat, and also some grab bars in that shower in case they ever fall down or something like that.
Doug, are you still showering alone, or is there an assist every morning?
No, there's not an assist yet. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
And that is something we have to do.
I
We
know.
look at how the houses can adapt as we get older. Guess what? We're all getting older.
Yeah.
I may be leading the pack, but we are getting older.
Okay.
So how can you continue to live in your space that you enjoy and be able to deal with the functionality that you might lose as life goes on?
All right. What else? Continue with
The
trends. That's interesting.
the other big thing with the open floor plans is where do you put the big TV?
Yeah.
We still tend to watch TV no matter whether or not we like to admit that or not. And where do you put it? Do you put it over the fireplace? Do you put it off to the side? And what becomes the centerpiece of that room? And since I'm an architect by trade, I do like symmetry, so I'm more in preference for having the TV over that fireplace. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but we do suggest going on the House website, and you can find thousands of pictures of different scenarios of how to set that space up to get some ideas rolling for your own space.
Mm-hmm. And what size TVs are people asking for? Like a few years ago, I put a 50-inch TV out by the swimming pool. I thought I was living large. The next day, 60-inch TVs were in.
I don't know anymore.
I was cool for about a day.
I don't know. I just got a 55 for my own house, and sometimes I wish it was even bigger.
Yeah, really? Okay.
There
All
is
right.
a relationship with the size of the room and the size of the TV. So you have to make sure the TV doesn't overwhelm the room.
I was going to say, you know what, and I notice that sometimes I go to people's house, I keep it to myself, but I go to someone's house and I'm like, okay, the size of the screen is completely out of perspective for the size of the room, and it looks almost cartoonish, the size of this TV. Do you gently nudge people and say, well, okay, it's nice to have a TV that large, but it doesn't fit the dimensions?
You don't want to get too big. Usually the viewing distance is about 10 to 12 feet when you're sitting on the couch, so you want to be in that about 50-inch range for a television.
But I think you know what I'm talking about. We've all been in people's houses where the TV is just clearly too large for this room.
Very true, yes. You have to be careful of
It's
that.
overpowering. It can happen easy. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here?
Last year, the top story on House, which is a website that gives people ideas of what to do with their house, the top story was about how to remodel the standard bathroom, the 5-foot by 8-foot bathroom.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of calls for that. We do a lot of bathroom remodels. And those features that we were talking about, the battle between the shower and the tub shower, that comes out in that story. And guess what one? The shower tends to be the one that's there, and you're seeing less tubs being in those bathrooms. And I think it gives the designers more flexibility to come up with something a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. Let's close out here with backup power. We had a little storm. I mean, it's winter now. There's storms. But I'll tell you what, lately, I don't know. I'm not looking to give Eversource a hard time, but we just have random, like, middle of the day. It's a nice sunny day. Bang, let's have a power outage for like 4 hours. We've had a number of those recently. That plus people hitting poles. I swear it's weekly in some town in northeastern Connecticut. Someone's whacking a pole, and there's been a lot of power outages. So talk about backup power.
Well, that's one of the businesses that we're in. John Frost, who runs our plumbing and heating division, also is in charge of our generator installation area. And we, as you know, we use Kohler generators. We think very highly of them. Not only are they reliable, they have diagnostics that are easy for us to work with. We can connect with our computers and check and see how the system is running. And we have 2 going in this week, and we just continue. The snowy weather brings out people's worries, and then so give us a call. Give John Frost a call at our office at 928-0897. He can hook you up with a Kohler generator.
Okay, tip of the month. Go ahead.
Well, the tip of the month is to close off your basement bulkhead to the basement. And you see the stairs that come from the outside into the basement, that just lets cold air come down into the basement. If the basement's colder, then the rest of the house is going to be colder. You can start with a simple sheet of plywood to do it, or you can go to Modern Lumber or Eastford Building Supply, get a piece of insulation. RMAX is what we use, 2 inches. And if you want to get more elaborate, you can get a insulated door and sit in there. You will see a noticeable difference in the warmth of your house when you close that off.
That's a good tip. And what was the other tip that I suggested that you give today? What was the other tip?
I'm old, Gary. I already forgot.
Never argue with your wife.
Never argue with your wife. Oh, gosh, Gail, I'm sorry I forgot that
Just
one.
another tip. I wanted to throw that one in, too, just to have my 2 cents worth. All right, come on, let's let's check it out. It's Woodstock Building Associates, WBAHomes.com. In business for 38 years. They're located at 78 Prospect Street in Woodstock. They have a great showroom up there, too. Recently expanded, you said.
Yes, the plumbing side has been expanded, so show more vanities and bathroom fixtures.
Hit me one more time with that phone number. Go ahead.
860-928-0897.
And check them out online. Where are we going again for this?
WBAHomes.com, House, Guild Quality, and Pinterest.
And Pinterest. And Facebook also. You're all
Don't
over.
forget Facebook.
You guys got everything going on. Gentlemen, I want to say Happy New Year to you. Thank you for coming in. Locally owned business. Big fans here. And giving back to the community as well. I see Doug weekly at the Putnam Rotary Club, and I know there's a lot of other things he does in addition. Final question. You taking a bike ride for New Year's Day or something? What are you doing?
No, it's a little icy. I tried to go out yesterday, but my riding buddies had other things going on, and I wasn't sure I wanted to ride at 5:30 in the morning in the dark by myself.
You're doing the fat tire thing? Everyone's into fat tires.
Not into the fat tire.
Is it trendy? Is that a trend? What's going on?
It's a different group of people. We like to do miles, and we like to do speed.
Yeah.
The fat tires, less miles, more terrain.
Okay, good to know. Gentlemen, Happy New Year.
Thank you, Gary.
It's
Thank you, Gary.
7:53. Happy New Year to you.